Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Now today, what I wanted to talk about is the short version of how you can use your Elva missions to get yourself a lot of map returns. And what I've done there is I've grabbed the maps that dropped that were tier 11 and above from a single Elva incursion temple. This is not from the incursions themselves, this is from the master temple, the Temple of Atzoatl. And in order to get that, all I spent was 3 of my low tier missions. You'll see I've only got 1 low tier mission left. I did have a lot more than that at the start of the day. I used 3 of those and 1 of my tier 16 missions, and I used a tier 16 map, specifically Alera the Hydra. So what I did was I opened 3 of my Elva daily missions on low tier maps. So that's just as simple as jumping into your hideout, going up to Elva, talking to her, selecting Atlas mission, and throwing in a low tier map. So a white map or a yellow map, depending upon whether you're trying to burn up her yellow missions or her white missions. It doesn't matter which tier you use, but if you're going to be using white tier maps, I suggest that you use at least tier 4. So run 3 of these, connect up the temple as much as you can. Just follow your standard incursion strategies, but prioritize the map room a little bit higher than you normally would if you get the choice. And you normally would pick the map room pretty highly. Now, once you've done that on those 3 maps, and so you've used up 3 of your not very valuable Elva missions that you've got from the start of the league, then go and roll up a tier 16 map and use an Elva mission on that. These Elva missions are a bit more precious, but you will get one of them every day if your last map that you do is a tier 11 or higher in the previous day. So go and get Elva to run a tier 16 temple for you, and when you then go to the actual Temple of Atzoatl in the present day, the whole thing will be tier 16 because of the formula that Elva uses to determine what level the Temple of Atzoatl is. Now, the Temple of Atzoatl is a huge zone. It has something like 4,000 or 5,000 monsters in it, and although it doesn't have very good item quantity or pack size, there's just so many monsters in there that you're likely to get a decent number of map returns. This felt actually disappointing when I was recording the video of it, although when I did an inventory afterwards I realized, holy shit, I got actually quite a lot of drops in there. In the past I've certainly had times where I've gone in and I've exited the temple, the present day Temple of Atzoatl, with 3 or 4 or 5 or even 6 tier 16 maps. So that's just a little tip that will help you with map sustain. If you don't have a tier 16 map to see the temple, if you are in a trade enabled league, then go and buy one. Alternately, if you are in solo self-found, use the very highest map that you have access to instead, and use a mission on that. The other thing that's very important is that it's worth making sure you've done at least 1 map of each tier. I actually rolled that Lair of the Hydra extremely easy. Rather than using a Chaos Orb then a Vaal Orb on it, not a Chaos Orb, an Alchemy Orb on it then a Vaal Orb, I did chisel it up, then I transmuted it, and then regaled it. So I had a really trivial Lair of the Hydra map. I think from memory the only mods were that monsters gain endurance charges, which doesn't affect me because it does affect me because they get resistances from that. So it does make it a little bit harder for me, but not tremendously so. And then the other mod was Burning Ground. So very easy map. Went and ran that, and that was all fine. The key though is that you do want to complete the map, because the Temple of Atzoatl can only drop maps that you have completed on the Atlas. So you need to make sure you've got a tier 16. If you don't have any tier 16s completed, then any map that drops that would have been a 16 will be downgraded to a 15. And you don't want that. In any case, that's just a little tip on how to turbocharge a map pool using the Temple of Atzoatl, and I will have a video of the full run going up in a couple hours as well.